Well, bienvenidos. Welcome. For today, you do have a handout there in front of you to kind of give you a guideline as to the direction I'm going, and I've given you some space to take notes. So for those of you who might be able to use this presentation as an extra credit assignment, it gives you documentation that you were here and the ability for you to take notes. And if nothing else, it's for you to enjoy. Just something a little bit about this particular photograph. This is actually the amulet that I have on. This is called the Incan Cross, and it is very symbolic of their cosmology, their worldview. The colors that are there are the colors of the Incan civilization. Scholars feel that they had flags and banners to represent their empire, and the colors were those of the rainbow. So the particular amulet that I bought, and then I thought it'd be a great way to start the presentation to get you to think about this, is all tied up in here, and that you have the Incan Cross, which in a minute there'll be a slide connected with the stair-stepped approach that is there. You have the vibrant colors that you have that to me typifies the beauty of Peru as a way, as an introduction to the land, the people, and the culture. But I'm going to stop for a minute, because as a geographer, I have to at least give you some spatial context as to where Peru is located. Looking at here, the map of the globe, looking primarily at the northern and North and South America, are the Americas. Of course, we live in the North American continent. Peru is located in the South American continent. The equator being located right here, to give you some context, Peru is located in the southern hemisphere. However, the tropics, the areas in the dashed line that is represented here and the dashed line that is up here, the spaces that are in between are considered tropical places. So Peru is located right in the heart of the tropics. When we think tropics, of course, we think beaches, we think warmth, we think places like Hawaii, the Caribbean, and so forth. But what I love about traveling to parts of the world that are in places like this, you never know what you're going to see, and it sometimes will surprise you. And of course, that's another thing about Peru. Peru is a land of surprises, and this idea of diversity that hopefully you'll walk out of here with a sense of that. So I just wanted to give that to you. It is the third largest country in South America. To give you an idea of the size of the South American continent, of course, Brazil dominates South America. Argentina is the second largest, so Brazil being number one, Argentina being number two, Peru being the third largest country that is there. To kind of put into a different kind of context for you, for the new people that are walking around, coming in, I have handouts. So let me just kind of get that to you.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh no, that's okay. This is a come and go. We flew from San Antonio to Houston, from Houston straight to Lima. It's about a 6.5-hour flight. So for us, where we're sitting in our seat today, it is quicker to get to Peru than it is to most places in Europe. So it kind of gives you a bit of a context. But also to make you realize how vast the continent is, I have also flown to Buenos Aires, and I've gone from Dallas to Buenos Aires, and that is almost a 12-hour flight. And to give you an idea of the difference being, of course, Lima is way up here, Buenos Aires is way down here. Bottom line, Brazil is huge. I mean, South America is huge. To put it into another type of a context, Dallas to Buenos Aires is about a 12-hour flight. I flew from Chicago to Delhi, India, and that was only 14 hours. So I can go to the other side of the world, or I can go to South America, just south of here. So I guess another message that I want to get across to you, if you're thinking about going to Europe, just go south. The wonderful thing about it, Peru, same time zone. You don't have to deal with jet lag that you have to do in other parts of the world. So with that, let me go ahead and get back to the reason why you're here. Peru, the land and the people. Coming in closer to home, of course, here is looking at Peru specifically. It is a physical map showing you some of the features that are with Peru, but getting back to some basics. Peru, 29 million people. How many people live in Texas? What's the population of Texas? Anybody know?
22 million. 21.
It's about 21 to 22 million. So again, another kind of a context. There are just a few million more people living in an entire country that we have here in the state of Texas. So I guess California or New York being larger. So again, it's a big place, but not that many people live there in that particular country in perspective to the United States. The capital is Lima, of 8 million people. Give you third largest country, places that it borders some of the other countries in South America. Ecuador to the north, Colombia a little bit to the northwest, Brazil to the northeast, and then to the east, Brazil, and then Bolivia and Chile making your way southward. The Andes Mountains dominates the country of Peru. So everywhere you see the crunched-in areas like an accordion, that is your mountain landscape. The area that is without the crunch, that is the Amazon. Coastline, 1,500 miles. Again, another perspective from the outlet of the Rio Grande River in Texas all the way to Baja California, San Diego, the other border, that is 2,000 miles. So if you were to lay Peru sideways, it is almost as long as the border between the United States and Mexico.
It's because he's videotaping and it's hard to see.
Okay. Okay. Going forward. Some information, again, kind of going off what you have on your handout in front of you. As I mentioned, the 29 million people, most of them live along the coastal areas. You have the Andes Mountains, you have the Amazon on the other side, and then on the coastal area, it is also, of course, you're at sea level, it's relatively flat. Because of the mountains and because the Amazon is a very difficult place to live in, most of the people live along the border. And of course, Lima being located on the coastline is the biggest city. Less than 5% of the population live in the tropics. So 95% of the people live either in the mountains or along the coastline, with the vast majority of those people living on the coastline itself. Peru is the most diverse country of South America. Almost half of its population claim a full 100% indigenous ethnic background, with most of those claiming heritage to the Incan Empire. So the Incans are a very large group, along with the Quechuans, who live more towards the Amazon and the tropical basins. You can see the other mixtures that are there, but outside, again, when we think Latin America, we always think Spanish and the native peoples, but Peru also has a very large Chinese and Japanese population. And if you go back, one of their presidents, Fujimori, I believe, was of Japanese ancestry, and he was president of Peru not that long ago. So again, this theme of diversity being carried through on many different levels. The capital of Peru, again, is Lima. This is this first slide that is represented here. The city that was founded in 1535 by the Spanish conqueror, Francisco Pizarro. Francisco Pizarro, like Hernan Cortez, are the two people who've been credited to bringing this massive landmass that came under control of the Spanish Empire. They were the ones called the conquerors. Of course, if you're on the other side, you view them a little bit differently. But Francisco Pizarro is credited with bringing in South America underneath Spanish rule, while Hernan Cortez is more associated with bringing Mexico in underneath the Spanish rule.
Which is interesting that in Lima you can find a statue of Pizarro, but in Mexico you don't find one of Cortez.
Yeah, yeah. In Lima, of course, he's the founder. He founded the city of Lima in 1535. Lima is called a primate city. A little bit of geography here, in urban geography. There's a term we call primate cities, and we don't have any primate cities in the United States. Primate cities, you find them often in Latin America. A primate city is the city that dominates the politics, the economics, the social capital, the cultural capital. It is the city that controls pretty much everything that the country does. And it is always the largest city, and then the second largest city is a drastic drop-off in population. These are, again, some characteristics of what is called a primate city. In the United States, for example, we have New York City, we have Los Angeles, we have Houston, we have Dallas, and they're all very big, they're all very, very important, and you get more of a stair-stepped bar graph. If you were to chart the population of these cities, it's more of a stair-step bar graph, Where in countries where you have a primate city, and often, most of the time, it is also the capital, if you were to create a bar graph, you would get a very, very tall bar graph, and then the second one would drop off drastically with the rest of the other cities leveling out. Peru is a great example of this because the population of Lima being 8 million people, and with the second largest city, 775,000 people. So what a drastic drop-off. So Lima dominates the country of Peru. Couple little things. It's the capital, this particular slide, unlike places like Mexico City, which is the primate city of Mexico. Of course, there's other cities like Monterrey that are beginning to challenge Mexico City for dominance. But Mexico City, 27 million people, and then you drop off in size. But Mexico City, before it became Mexico City, was Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. And when Cortez came in, it was very symbolic, and when he conquered the Aztec Empire, he destroyed their capital and built his capital literally on top of the remains of some of the Aztec pyramids and structures that they had put in place. Cusco was the capital of the Incan Empire. You had two massive empires that the Spanish came into contact with. There were hundreds and hundreds of different cultural groups or tribes or ethnic groups, however you want to call them, found all throughout the Americas. But we know about the Aztecs dominating what is now Mexico City, and then the Incas dominating pretty much a good portion of what we call South America. The capital of the Incan Empire being in Cusco. Pizarro did not, of course he comes in, he conquers that area, but he made the decision to not put the capital in that particular city. Some of the reasons, and I'll talk about those in a minute, you have the information written down. As a Spaniard being in South America, Cusco is almost at 11,000 feet in elevation. That is over 2 miles up. Spain does not have that type of elevation, so just the difficulty of a human being functioning at 11,000 feet is very hard. If you've been to Denver, called the Mile High City, and if you've ever been there and you walk around and you get winded and you walk a little piece and you get tired, you are only at a little more than 5,000 feet in elevation. Double that, and that's what Cusco is.